Let's go. Okay. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Ben Bowman YouTube channel. I hope you're all doing well. In this video, we're going to break down exactly what we learned from Tottenham 3, Vissel Kobe 2. Yesterday, Spurs are 3 for 3 in pre-season now with wins over Hearts, wins over QPR, and wins over Vissel Kobe. And the common theme amongst those has been superb performances from our youngsters, none more so than Mikey Moore. Well, of course, we're going to talk about Mikey Moore in this video, but make sure to like the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more videos to come. I can see all of you in the chat. We do these live. I also post these on my channel afterwards, so if you want to join them live, they're usually the day after the game. I'm going to do them in the season, when the season starts as well, after Premier League and Europa League games. Just a bit of a breakdown in terms of what we have learned in the game. Who is in the chat then? Who have we got here today? We've got Cows, we've got Gollum, we've got Proby. Thank you all so much for joining. If you want to join, like I said, I'll do these usually after the game, the afternoon after the game. For sure. So in this video, we're going to talk about Mikey Moore. We're going to talk about Jamie Donley. We're going to go through the goals. We're going to talk about a new role potentially for Dejan Kulusevski moving forward. We're going to talk about the goals that we conceded. We're going to talk about a bit of everything. We're going to talk about the lineups, etc., because we also saw a bit of a different approach to the preseason game yesterday from Ange Postecoglou in the fact that we pretty much played with a similar 11 for most of the game. Usually he's been changing, obviously, the teams at half-time in the last two games, the whole 11. We didn't really see that yesterday. This was the team that started with Vicario in goal, back in the number 1 shirt. Emerson Royale, Archie Gray and Ben Davies at left back. Basuma Sarr and Madison in midfield. Son, Johnson and Kulusevski, not really in a false 9 role, but definitely more as an out-and-out number 9. Let me know what you thought of that. We're going to break that down very much so later on. This was the team that started. The second half we'll come into. We'll go through all the substitutions as well, because there was a lot. There was a lot of change throughout the game. But we'll start with that for now. I wanted to get up average positions and stuff, but for some reason, it had, on SofaScore, it had the average positions for the game against QPR, but it did not have them for yesterday, which is quite frustrating. But, you know, we move. So what shall we talk about first? Let's go through, let's go through the goals. Well, let's talk about the goal that we conceded, first of all, to kick the game off. Spurs went 1-0 down. We got back into the game, obviously, and ended up winning it, which was great. Gary, welcome to the chat. Claire and James Daniels, welcome to the chat as well. Let me know if there's anything you guys want to talk about as well while we do this, and I can bring some stuff up. But I've obviously got what we've got planned, and we're going to talk about through the goals. We're going to talk through the goals that we conceded first, or the goal that we conceded to go 1-0 down. So it's a decent line from Tottenham here. Let me just see if I can move myself over. Let me just see if I can move myself over here so it's a bit clearer for you guys. Decent line from Spurs in terms of holding that high line. Cross comes in, you can see again there. A couple of players caught in the offside trap, but I just think it's down to a lack of communication. Obviously, we see Sarr make that mistake that then leads to the goal smashed in by the Vissel Kobe forward. Again, I think it's just down to a lack of communication. You could sort of see Porro, Sarr and Vicario talking to each other afterwards. Again, it's pre-season. Good to kind of iron these mistakes out now rather than in a Premier League game. Hopefully we don't make too many of those, but I'm not too unhappy about what we actually did. I think it was just a lack of communication. Then Tottenham obviously get back into the game with a really, really nice goal. And this kind of leads on to wanting to talk about Dejan Kulusevski, because obviously he had such a big hand in this. Where shall I move myself? Let's move myself. Maybe the best position is here. So it starts with Archie Gray. And again, we're going to talk about Archie Gray in detail. We're going to talk about Gray in detail. We're going to talk about Donley in detail. We're going to talk about Kulusevski in detail. And we're going to talk about Mikey Moore in detail as well. So it starts with Archie Gray. What I've been really impressed with Archie Gray is his almost ability to kind of be the Christian Romero of this side that we've seen in pre-season so far. Obviously, Romero isn't going to be back until that Bayern Munich game, probably against home against Bayern. Kane's return. Obviously, Archie Gray is not a centre-back, and we got to see him in midfield yesterday for the first time. He did struggle a little bit there, and we'll come on to that, but at centre-back, again, he was absolutely faultless in terms of his ability to stride out from the back and play, which is obviously something we want massively from our centre-backs. Look comfortable on the ball and break those lines with the passing. Strides out here. What I love about this, he's got passing options. He's got simple passing options. He can go out to Ben Davies here. He can almost come back and go back to Emerson. But you can't really see Kulusevski in the picture here. But if I move it on one, obviously Kulusevski moves into that central position. Obviously, we saw him playing as a striker. Moves into that position. Gray splits the lines, takes out 3 players with the pass. And what I love about Kulusevski here in terms of his body movement is that he already knows where he wants to go. He's dropped the shoulder and wants to burst into this space. He's so good at receiving the ball in the half turn because, again, you can't quite see it just out the picture. He's got defender, right up of his backside. So he needs to turn and move straight away. And that's what I love about Kulusevski, is he's got that physicality to move players off the ball, manipulate his body, great movement, and that's what we saw there. Then he plays that ball out to Brennan Johnson. Brennan Johnson feeds the ball back into him. Kulusevski knows that he's got runners in behind him. Obviously, he's playing as that number 9, but that doesn't mean that he can't drop deep into these kind of positions and allow those players to get in behind. Obviously, we can see Pat Matasar there has kind of made that burst into that striker position. And Porro is making the run beyond him. I thought Porro was really impressive yesterday. Again, just in those attacking positions, got so much composure. And that's what we see there from Kulusevski. That outrageous little back heel that has kind of become a bit of a common theme so far in pre-season for Decky. Obviously, we saw it against Hearts to set up James Maddison. We saw it a lot. I think we saw it once in the QPR game as well. But that little back heel, it's almost become a bit of a trademark into Porro. And again, we've seen this from Spurs players countless times now in pre-season. Just that little drop of the shoulder, composure to come back onto his left foot and slot it. It was a lovely goal. A lovely, lovely goal from Spurs. Really well worked and a great finish from Pedro Porro. And then Spurs. Let's talk about Kulusevski now. Let's move on to Kulu now. I want to know in the chat, what did you think of Dejan Kulusevski's performance yesterday? Because I was really, really impressed in terms of learning things from pre-season. Obviously, we saw Decky play as that false 9 towards the end of the season last year in that game against Sheffield United. But we're now seeing it in pre-season. He's played a central role in every pre-season game so far. Which I think is a bit of an indicator in terms of maybe where Ange Postecoglou sees his future in the long term for Spurs. Let me know in the chat what you think about Kulusevski. Does it sort of solve our striker problem having him there, or is it just a great option to have? I put a TikTok video about that earlier on today, so go and watch that if you would like as well. Links in the bio. So here, first thing I wanted to highlight from Kulusevski here, ball into him from Davis. Obviously, Davis can make the run beyond him there into the space. He's got a defender that's going to come and make pressure him here. He's able to go out to the edge of the box and hold them off. And this time he just recycles it. That time he just goes back. But again, one thing that's so underrated with Dejan Kulusevski is his ball retention in the final third. He hardly ever gives it away because of his ability to use his body, manipulate his body, and hold players off as well. He's so strong and so hard to get off the ball in terms of his frame, also in terms of his close control as well. He's such an elegant footballer in that aspect. So that time he just lays it off. This time, let me just move myself. Bear with me. Let's move myself up here, so you can see the picture a bit clearer. What you can't quite see out of shot, let me just see if I can move that. Yes, there we go. So you can see James Maddison. Again, James Maddison gets into these channels always really well, loves kind of occupying those left sort of half spaces, gets into the box, loads rule cross. Kulusevski gets across his man, and that little back heel flick just goes wide. But again, he's doing things that strikers do. That movement there, that anticipation to get to the front post. He knows it's going to be a difficult chance. But again, I think he might win a corner from this. I think it gets deflected off of the defender and Spurs get a corner. But the fact that he's getting across there and making that movement to the front post, I think is really encouraging. Playing as a striker. And again, if that ball misses him, again, it's quite a crowded penalty area, but there are a number of players in the box that it could fall to if we're lucky. Again, now, let me just adjust this picture. This was... we've also talked about Kulusevski's involvement in the equalizer. One thing as well that we saw from Kulu, this was a breakaway. And actually, let's go to this quickly. Let's come back to that. Because there was a couple of moves that I wanted to put together to show you how some of the lovely stuff that we played yesterday. Let's go back, all the way back. Oh no, it's not on here. Oh no, it is. Okay, right, let's come back to that after. Okay, here we go. Then this is the move that I wanted to highlight. Again, let me just move myself. Involving Kulu. This is the move that I wanted to highlight. So we see Spurs play it out from the back here. Emerson, little ball into Porro. Again, I thought Basuma was really good yesterday. Really confident, really composed on the ball in these kind of tight spaces. Something that we've obviously known to love about Basuma. Obviously had a bit of a frustrating end to the season, but this is Basuma where he's at his best. Obviously he gets the ball here from Porro in a bit of a tight space. nudges it onto Sarr, and it's so important that he just gets there first, because look how open that pitch is now for Tottenham. You've got Madison, you've got Kulu here, and you've got Maddison there, two players that are so great receiving the ball in the half-term and driving into space. Sarr gets his head up. Kulusevski makes the movement. Maddison's there. Maddison receives the ball on the half-turn. And again, this is kind of a trademark Maddison pass that we've known to love over the last year or so, in terms of the outside of the foot to spray it quickly to Sonny, gets it out of his feet really quickly. Sometimes it can get a little bit stuck under him, but this is so important because, again, let me know in the chat kind of what you see Sonny's best position as going forward. A lot of people have debated whether he's better on the wing, whether he's better as a striker, but I still think here, Spurs can bait the press like we've done so well here and create these opportunities to counter-attack quickly when you've got Maddison's vision and you've got Sonny's ability to isolate a fullback and go one-on-one with that pace that he's still got as well. Maddison gets the ball out to him here quickly. And then what I love is that you can see here Kulusevski. Look where Kulusevski is. A little bit behind the play, obviously. But when it gets to Son in this position, he's made that dart. And I know a lot of people say that Kulusevski isn't the quickest, but he's made up a lot of ground there very, very quickly to get into that position. He anticipates where Sonny wants to play him in, where he needs to be as that striker as well. Again, towards the end of last season, we saw Decky operate a lot as a false nine, or mainly against Sheffield United. We saw it in a couple of other games, I believe, as well. But again, he was definitely more of that focal point. And I wish I could show you the average positions, but they're not available on SofaScore. To really see if he was more of a focal point yesterday. From watching the game, I definitely think he was. And again, he makes that burst in again here. Sonny, we know what Sonny can do in these positions. He can isolate that fullback and he can go on the outside. This time he chooses to go inside because he's got that run from Kulusevski. And he is able to get the ball in this position again because he's so strong. He's able to hold off the defender. And in these positions, let me just move it across a little bit. In these positions, we know how adept Kulusevski is as a finisher. This time, from this shot, he hits the side netting. But we know how strong he is going across the goalkeeper low and hard from these positions because he's able to hold the defender off. And that's why I wanted to include a couple of examples from last season. This was the Sheffield United game where he got a brace. Let me just move the camera again to over here so you can see that. And also, let me just make this a bit bigger for you guys. Make sure, like I said, make sure to like the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be doing these after every Premier League game next season. If you like it, we're going to be doing it after the Europa League games as well. So coming back to this quickly. So we've got Kulusevski here in this position again, playing as that striker against Sheffield United on the final day. I think Maddison's able to just bump it into Sonny there, and Sonny gets a little poke on it. And Kulusevski, again, very similar position, is able to isolate this man, take that touch on the outside, and go low and hard across the goalkeeper, in off the post. Brilliant finish. Such a good finish. Again, Aston Villa a couple of years ago away, obviously playing as a right winger in this system because you've got Kane as the focal point, and where you've got those runners in behind him, it suited those wingers massively. But I thought it was worthy showing. Obviously, Kane wins that knockdown. Kulusevski moves into that space. Again, gets a little bit lucky with the bobble, but is able to hold onto the ball with that strength that I think is so underrated with Decky. I think that strength is something that will get him a long, long way, and why it's so important. And again, he's able to isolate the defender, create that space, and bang, bottom corner. And again, I know it didn't quite work out for him in this position yesterday. He shot side netting. But again, if he gets himself, in terms of football is all about percentages, right? If Kulusevski gets himself in enough positions like that over the course of a season, playing as a striker, he will finish a lot of them because we know he's such an accomplished finisher on both feet as well. Obviously, we saw that against Sheffield United in the home game, that right-footed finish across the goalie. We've seen that in a bunch of other games for Spurs as well. So I thought Kulusevski was really impressive yesterday. Let's go to the chat. Robert here says our attacking play seemed to get bogged down a bit with Kulu on the wing last season. I think sometimes that is a bit unfair, but I do think there were certain games where that happened for sure. And I do definitely think he thrives a little bit more in a central position. We've seen that in every pre-season game so far. We saw that in the QPR game, that little pass to Bissouma, perfectly weighted pass to Bissouma for that opening goal, that little give and go. And again, we saw it against Hearts, obviously, where he drifts into that central position, that little backheel flick into Maddison for Johnson's first goal. I think he's just very comfortable there, very, very comfortable. And he said it himself. Cal says he'll be a good focal point to have as a number 9. He's physical and has a good hold-up play. He brings up other players around him to play to their strengths when he plays centrally. Absolutely. And we're going to move on to the second goal for that now as an example, for sure. Because I think he's such an intelligent player. Kulusevski isn't really involved in this move, but in terms of playing to the strengths of the other attackers that we have got, Let me just adjust this. See if I can move that to show Porro. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. So, second goal for Spurs. Take the lead back after half-time. Pedro Porro with a perfectly weighted ball. And again, I'm just going to have to move that back to show you Johnson. Perfectly weighted ball to Johnson. And again, Johnson just does him for pace a bit here. And obviously, slider or ball across the box and Sonny there to finish. That, I think, has almost become, not quite that goal, but goals very similar to that have been have become almost the archetypal Ange ball goal for Spurs in terms of that ability to break those lines and get runners in behind and just crosses across the box. And again, we saw that here because Johnson's got that pace. Again, I had a little bit of a moan in the QPR stream after the game in terms of Johnson's inconsistency maybe with the crossing sometimes, but that he's got bang on. Again, it's not a hard ball to Son, but he's got that bang on in terms of the weight, and Sonny is just able to finish. So again, I think obviously Kulusevski isn't really involved here, but when Kulusevski as that focal point, just like Kane used to, if he can drop deeper and attract defenders away and allow that space in behind for Johnson and Sonny as those pacey wingers, and again Werner is going to be key in this as well. And again, if Spurs bring in someone like a Pedro Neto potentially as that pacey winger, we can utilise Brennan's pace to the best of the ability and create space with these kind of chances. I do think Kulusevski centrally, not in every single game, for sure. Certainly not every single game is that number 9, but I do think Kulusevski centrally is the way forward for him and the way forward for Spurs in terms of getting the best out of the attackers around him as well, as someone's pointed out in the chat. Sammy there says we need to utilise Brennan's pace. Bram says Kulu definitely needs to be played centrally, for sure. So I really enjoyed Kulusevski's performance yesterday. Let's go back onto Kulu, because this is where we got up to with Kulusevski in terms of the analysis here. This was a breakaway that we had, and again, people talk about Kulusevski's pace, but with his power in terms of his running, he's obviously able to draw the foul there. If not, he's in, and you do back Kulusevski to kind of hold on to the ball there and go through and score. He's not got blistering pace, but again, with his ability to hold off players. Again here, receiving the ball kind of on the angle, on the run, he's able to look after it so well. I think the touch is a little bit heavy and it just doesn't come off for him here, but I love the idea of getting Kulu into these kind of positions because of the strength that he does have and that little burst to get away. Again, receiving the kind of the ball on the half turn there. Let me just move my camera so you can see the play a little bit better here. Again, Kulusevski picking up. Again, he still had the freedom to kind of pick up the ball in these wide positions again. Here, this is in the second half. Let me just move this over. So fidgety sometimes with these, but we get there in the end. Kulusevski there. Oh, actually, I think I wanted to highlight because there's a man out on the wing there. Kulusevski gets the ball into feet and he's just able to just pop it off nicely. And again, he's able to attack that space, which is going to be super useful. Attack the space and turn and go. Again here, just need to move that back across. This is what we saw with Kulusevski against Hearts. Just a little give and go. Tries to make that pass. I believe that's Solomon. I love the idea of Kulusevski getting to these positions. Again, it doesn't quite come off for him. The pass gets blocked, but it comes back out to him. And again, with his strength, he's able to just win the ball back. So I was super impressed with Kulusevski yesterday. Let me know what you think in the comments in terms of what you see his future as for Spurs. I think a lot of people are kind of in agreement about the fact that centrally is probably where he's best going to be utilised in terms of getting the best out of him in this system. I just think with Kulusevski, he can be quite frustrating out on the wings sometimes. That's not to say that I don't think he's suited to Ange ball, but I do think in terms of the way that we want to play, I do think he is suited more centrally. I think it brings the best out of the other players around him, and I think it gets the best out of him. He's spoken for so long about how he sees himself more as a number 10, more as a central player. So I do think this is the way forward. I do. I really do. Let me know in the chat. Again, let's go to the chat here. Why do you think George Abbott is not talked about by our fan base? Again, George Abbott came on and played centre-back yesterday. Did pretty well. I thought Lee Fletcher, a couple of key additions in the forward area and will be a very good team next season. I agree with you there. Cow's there here. If Udogie can overlap Son, then Son can drift into the pockets and Udogie can be near the bylines like they exchange players in our system. Yeah, I do think as well, if Spurs were to sign someone like a Berriese, again, a Berriese isn't that natural touchline winger. He wants to drift inside a lot of the time. But, and again, we obviously saw Destiny Udogie underlapping a lot and getting into those central areas, which we saw a lot from Jamie Donley. We'll come on to Donley in a second, because I was really impressed with him yesterday. Doggy's overlapping ability is still really, really strong. So whether it's Son or whether it's Eze on that left-hand side, I do think that unlocks something else in Doggy that we haven't seen as much of yet, because he does play as a number 10, as an inverted fullback when we attack. So, yeah, I think you're definitely right there. Paul Bean, Kulu's best ability is that he never loses the ball once it gets to him. Exactly, ball retention in the final third. If we come back to my first example here for Kulu, there it is, Eze. It didn't take me long to mention him, did it? Yeah, Kulu here again. Look, it doesn't quite come off for him here in terms of like what he wants to do. Maybe he wants to flick that back into Davis there. He recognises there isn't really something on, so he's just able to retain the ball, and Spurs can build up that pressure again. So I think you're totally right there, mate. I think you're totally right. Exactly. Imagine Eze picking up those positions we saw Udogie in last season. 100%, mate. I'm really excited by that. Let's move on to Jamie Donley, because Jamie is a player that we've seen play mainly as a left back, obviously in pre-season so far. But again, on the Udogie point, we know that our left backs and right backs, obviously with Pedro Porro, we saw the position that Porro got himself into yesterday. They do play as number 10s kind of when we're attacking. So let's talk about Jamie. I thought Jamie was really impressive yesterday. He struggled a little bit against QPR sometimes because there were positions that he got into where he gave the ball away a little bit sloppy. But again, he's so young. He's going to learn. He's going to learn that position. And again, sometimes players can give the ball away. You know, it just does happen. So, yes. So let's get into Jamie then. Here, okay. Let's go back to the start. So again, there's going to be a lot of moving around of my Swede, of my face. I apologise for that. So Solomon here isolates that winger 1v1. Jamie Donley always there to receive the pass. But this time, what could be interesting for Spurs here with the runners that we've got, or with the players that we've got in the box, what would be a nice option is if Solomon just cuts it back to him. And again, we've seen with Donley's crossing, it's been so on point, whether it's low and hard or whether it's those clipped little balls. The position he gets himself into lends itself really nicely for a little cutback and then a little ball over the top. We've obviously got Mikey Moore and Will Lancashire in there. But what he does, he makes that overlapping run. But again, he just clips it so lovely to the back post. And unfortunately for Mikey Moore, he's just not able to divert that header goalwards. Again, we're going to talk about Mikey Moore in detail soon. But it's a lovely clip ball over the top from Donley, over to the back post, I should say, for Donley. I was really impressed with the weight of pass, the intelligence from Donley yesterday. So impressed. And Mikey heads it over. Bless him. That did make me laugh, I have to say, even though I wanted him to score it. Here again, Donley making that little movement in behind and getting that low cross across the box. This time goes low and hard, and again forces the defender to get across the front post and make that cross, because you've got Lancashire there. If I just move myself again, there we go. You got Lancashire there who's ready and waiting if the defender doesn't get there. So either forces mistakes. The defender could slice at that and it ends up in the back of the net. He could completely miss it. It goes back to and it goes to Lancashire and he taps it in. And at worst, you get a corner from that. You know. So really impressive with him there. Again, Donley picking up these central positions. This is the chance, I believe, that leads to him having the shot that hits the post. So I believe it'll be the best for me to position myself down here for this one. Again, left back, drifting into these central positions. Perfect way to pass out to Solomon. And again, you can see Solomon, and I believe that's Bergvall there, overlapping Solomon. Again, Bergvall was really impressive yesterday. Again, just his ability to drop the shoulder and get away from players. It was really good. I don't think there was anything from Bergvall that was particularly worth highlighting in terms of a full piece of analysis. So we've kind of left Bergvall out of this stream because I think other players kind of impressed more than him. But again, really solid, really consistent, really, really excited by him for sure. Let me know your thoughts on Bergvall's performance in the chat. Donley plays the ball out there to Solomon. Bergvall goes beyond him. Again, this is such a dangerous position for Spurs to be in because Solomon can play that little reverse into Bergvall there, and you've got runners again in the box. But again, Solomon makes the right decision. There was a couple of times yesterday, and again, I said it in the last stream, I'm not quite seeing it with Solomon. I'm really not quite seeing it. But again, I think he makes the right decision here. I think there were moments in the game that his decision-making was quite poor. This wasn't one of them. Again, Donley just gets himself into such a good position. And what I love is he just kisses the ball here. It's not a hard shot. He doesn't snatch at it. That's something I've been really impressed at with our youngsters, whether it's the Will Lancashire goal against Hearts, whether it's the way that Mikey Moore takes his goal against Hearts as well, that little jink, and whether even it's the way that Mikey Moore takes that miss against QPR. I know he should have scored. I know the keeper makes a good save. But our young players, when they get into those positions, are showing so much composure. Donley is such a naturally gifted footballer that when the ball comes back to him here, it's really easy to overhit it. but he just kisses the ball. He just wraps it. And I think that's something we've seen with Donley's passing as well, is that everything is just done with just a little touch, like nice, soft. It's nothing's overhit, nothing's underhit particularly. Just wraps his foot around it really nicely, and again, hits the post. He's got such a lovely technique, Donley, when he's on the ball, whether it's his wrap passing or his shooting. So composed, such a lovely footballer to watch. Again, here he has that chance where he actually does smack it. The ball lands to him nicely, volley, and the keeper makes a really good save. Donley could have had a couple of goals yesterday, but the keeper makes a flying save there. And again, this is another opportunity where Donley gets in a very similar position to what he did for when he hit the post. Again, when the pass gets to him, it's a little bit just too under his feet to have a shot. But again, you look at all the players that are around in the box. Spurs are bound to create something here. I think that's George Abbott or maybe Solomon in that position. Plays the ball to him here. And Donley is just able to get away from that man and just recycle the play, get it out to Solomon. And again here, I'll talk about Donley with those kind of wrapped passes. Wraps the inside of his left foot around it really nicely. Is just able to get it with so much fizz there into Bergvall. And then Spurs have got a good chance. So I was really impressed with Jamie Donley yesterday. I think he's been really impressive over the 3 games. Again, I think this inverted left-back role suits him, whether it's something that he's going to play in long-term, whether that's where Ange sees him as a potential option for next season. Who knows? I think Spurs are just putting plasters over it a little bit at the moment because we haven't really got many players available in all the positions that we'd like. Again, that is a good segue to come on to Archie Gray because he's been playing at centre-back in every game so far, but he's not looked out of place at all. Again, I did think he struggled a little bit more in midfield yesterday, but again, I think someone said it in the chat there, and you don't want to make too many excuses for the players, but the heat, the conditions, etc., obviously were hard to play in, and they've got a good amount of minutes under their belt as well already. But again, really impressive from Archie Gray yesterday. And I think I said it at the start of the stream, what I've been most impressed with Archie Gray is his ability to fill the void that we've seen so far in pre-season of Christian Romero, being that more aggressive centre-back that wants to stride out from the ball and play those kind of line-breaking passes to really open up the pitch. Spurs have got so many players like Maddison, like Kulusevski, like Pat Matassar, who are so good at receiving the ball in the half-turn and either driving with it or creating something from it more in the mould of Kulusevski or more in the mould of Maddison, or Sarr and Kulusevski, who are going to want to drive. So again, Gray here. What do you think Gray does there in the chat? What do you think he does? Do you think he just plays that simple pass to Emerson? Just keeps the ball? No. He doesn't. He wraps that ball into Basuma there. And again, Basuma, so good in these kind of tight spaces that it looks a little bit, is he going to give the ball away? Is he going to intercept it? Absolutely not. Basuma drops the shoulder and plays a lovely little first-time ball there into, I think that's Maddison there, just behind my head. And then Spurs are away and able to turn. So again, Archie Gray's ability to be brave and break the lines allows Spurs to open up the pitch. And we've seen that in plenty of other examples here. Here's an example of his defending, actually. There weren't too many to show from yesterday, but again, Spurs in trouble a little bit here, lose the ball. But again, Archie Gray just gets in there and anticipates the danger. Here, again, line-breaking passes. Let's move my big fat head again. Archie Gray here, strides out the ball from the back. And again, you've got Kulusevski that just drops into that position and is able to turn and go. Again here, Archie Gray splits these two. You've got... let me just actually move that back one. And then move my head again. So you've got Gray here. You've got a passing option there in Spence. You've got, I think that's Porro there making himself available. And you've also got Kulusevski just out of picture. Again, someone else there just takes that safe option and plays it to Emerson. But no, he's brave. And again, it's Kulusevski who just gets himself into that central position and is able to turn and go. And he just pops it off nicely there to Maddison. Again, I think this requires me to move my head a little bit. And also move the picture. Because we can't actually see Archie Gray in it. And I want to show you what he does really well here. Again... just another simple, nice pass into Porro and sets us up on the attack. Again here, let me just move my head again. Gray, again, striding out with the ball so comfortably. Fizzes that ball there into Kulusevski, who's able to take the ball on the turn. This was one of the examples that we showed actually earlier with Kulu, where he just takes the ball in his stride, kind of uses his body to protect it. It doesn't quite come off him that time, but again, it's percentages, right? If he gets himself into enough of those positions, he's going to make something happen. But it all comes from Gray taking 1, 2, 3, 4 players out of the game with one pass. So good from him. And this was the bit that got Spurs fans super excited, right? This was fantastic footwork from Archie Gray yesterday. Let's go to the chat quickly before we come to that. C-Mac says, where will Gray play? Because he's a class at centre-back, but I'd like to see him in DM. Again, I think with Dragusin coming back now for the career leg of the tour, I think we'll see Gray in midfield more. Gray has been fantastic, but let's be honest, he'll get destroyed at centre-back in the Prem, keep him in midfield. I think it depends game by game, right? I think in games that Spurs are going to have more of the ball, I think striding out from the back, I think it'd be really comfortable. Again, would you play him at centre-back against the top team? No, but we've got Romero and Van der Ven. So it's like, if we need to play Archie Gray at centre-back, we will. I don't see that as the long-term future for him, but I think it's definitely an option. So I get what you're saying, but I wouldn't worry about it too much. Again, I think it's just Spurs kind of putting plasters over stuff because they haven't really got the options at the moment, with obviously Van der Ven, Romero not being there and Dragusin not being available for this game. This was the bit of footwork that got Spurs fans purring over Archie Gray yesterday. Gets the ball here. Again, under pressure. Goes between two. See you later. Little Lacroqueta. And again, away from him. And he's away. Again, the pass doesn't quite come off. It gets intercepted. But he just gets in there and wins it back. Absolutely superb, mate. Absolutely brilliant Archie Gray was yesterday. Again, he struggled a little bit. And we'll come on to the second goal now. Because he did get a little bit... Oh, no, that's not it. Bear with me 2 seconds. Goals conceded. There we go. Sorry, there's a lot that goes into these streams. Sometimes you put up the wrong thing, so I appreciate that. Goals conceded. There we go. So yeah, let's move on to the second goal, because he does get caught here, Archie Gray. He does get caught, and it's unlucky. But again, he's only 18. The kid's allowed to make a mistake. He's been superb so far in pre-season. I think the most important thing is you have players to win it back. If you know for a minute, but you knew this was going to happen at some point. All right, I came back. Sorry, the internet just dropped down there for a second. Okay, we're back. So again, here, it's just about how you look to win it back as a team, and unfortunately, Skip gets sold there, and they go on to score. But I'm not too concerned about Archie losing the ball in those kind of positions. It will come. It's natural. It happens to the best of players. Again, we saw it with Declan Rice, who many see Gray as possibly to the heir to him in that England team, or to play with him potentially in the future. He obviously got caught on the ball in that game in the Euros against the Dutch. It can happen, so it's unfortunate for him. Can you just let me know in the chat, by the way, if you guys can hear me? I think obviously I'm a bit ahead of you. You guys are a bit behind in terms of the stream, but I think we're good. Let's actually talk about the setup in terms of what we saw in the second half yesterday. Oh, actually, let's talk about centre-backs then, because a few people in the chat here. Since Phillips came on, he wasn't outstanding in any way. Yeah, I think Ashley Phillips probably needs another loan potentially. I do think Phillips needs another loan to kind of continue his development. Obviously, he was impressive at Plymouth, but I think he could do with potentially another loan. And then Robert says, Benny, you're disappointed that Ashley Phillips is not starting these preseason games, given that we are without any recognised first-team centre-backs. I wouldn't say I'm disappointed, no. I think with Archie Gray, he really sees Gray as a prospect to play regular first-team minutes next season, so I think he just wants to get him in minutes in the legs for him. But again, I don't think you should take too much importance to who's starting these games, who's not starting these games necessarily, really, because we've seen against QPR, for example, Maddison didn't start. Obviously, Sonny, I think, is starting all the games, and we expect that, but I wouldn't take too much notice of who starts and who doesn't. But I get what you're trying to say. Gary there, 12 training sessions and 2 games in 13 days before the tour. I'm a little worried that they're being overworked, especially with the climate as well and the heat. Yeah, I get you. But again, I think this team is super fit. So I wouldn't, again, hopefully we shouldn't worry about it too much. Dragusin is back, exactly. So I think we might still see Gray at centre-back in the next game. I think we might see Dragusin and Gray. Let's talk about how we set up in the second half then. I've got to go through the substitutions because there was a lot to kind of keep an eye on. So this was the team that obviously started the game. And then this was the team that started the second half. And you can see there, obviously, the the substitutes there on the right hand side. Let me just get this right. I've got Spurs' Twitter open up on another tab, which I've just lost actually, which is annoying. Bear with. We've had just a few slight hiccups today, but I hope you guys have enjoyed the stream. Again, like I said, I'm going to be doing them after every Premier League game, after every Europa League game. So here we go. I've got the substitutions back up. We're back on track. We're good. So this was the team that started the second half. Oh, there it is. Got my tab back. This was the team that started the second half, and then we saw around. So the substitutions were Vicario, Maddison, Davis off for Austin, Bergville, and Donley, and then a little bit after that, we saw Oliver Skipp come on. We saw Mikey Moore come on, and we saw Manos Solomon come on, and it was Basuma, Johnson, and Sonny that came off. So we saw Mikey Moore go out to the right. We saw Archie Gray go into midfield. We saw Solomon on the left, and we saw Skipp going at centre back. Again, we got a taste of Gray in midfield. He struggled a little bit, but I thought for the most part he was pretty sound, other than the goal. And then after that, we saw a bunch more subs. So we saw Porro come off. We saw Emerson come off. We saw Gray come off. We saw Sarr come off, and we saw Kulu come off as well. And then we saw Jed Spence come on, who again I thought was really good, was really impressed by his tenacity and his drive to get into those attacking positions. We saw George Abbott come on as well to play at centre-back. I think even more played on the left and Skipp played on the right. We also saw Ash Phillips come on. And we saw Skipp going to midfield. That was it, wasn't it? We saw Skipp going to midfield. We saw Phillips come on. We saw Alfie Devine, who again, so impressive with Alfie yesterday. We're going to talk about him more in a sec because I've got a couple more bits that I want to show you, so stick around. And obviously we saw the boy Wonder Will Lancashire come on as well. And that was kind of how we ended the game. I like this a lot. Before we talk about Mikey Moore, we can get rid of that now because we know what the substitutions were. Let's go to the chat before we come to Mikey Moore. And I also want to talk about some other good bits of football that Spurs played yesterday, involving Alfie, involving Mikey, involving Will. Again, so encouraging to see how these young players have taken to play in Ange Postecoglou's style of football, that confidence. I did an episode of The Lab just now with Flav for the Fighting Cock, so go and listen to that when it's out. It was focused mainly on Mikey Moore, but we talked about a lot of youngsters. And we talked about, and this was something I talked about in the ripple effect with Harry Brooks as well last week, is that there needs to be a structure in place, right, in terms of the way that you want to play. Ange Postecoglou's got that structure, he's got that philosophy, but there should be freedom within that. And I think that freedom comes from Ange Postecoglou empowering these players to take risks, to play with freedom, to be what they want to be. And I think we saw that. Again, I always come back to this example, and I spoke about it on the podcast that we did just now with Flav. I always think back to Mickey van der Ven, the North London derby last season away at the Emirates. We were getting pumped, peppered for 20 minutes, struggling to play out from the back, under pressure from Arsenal, a very good Arsenal side. And Mickey van der Ven did his interview after the game, after we came back and drew 2-2 with a better team at the Emirates. He came back and said, I looked over to the manager at the sidelines, because he wasn't so bad, but Udogie was struggling quite a bit to deal with Saka. And he looked over to the touchline and saw Ange, and he said, don't worry, calm down, just keep playing. And I think Ange Postecoglou has very much got this mindset of like, if it goes wrong with these youngsters, it's on me. Put all the blame on me. And that takes the pressure off of them. And I think we've definitely seen that with the young players in terms of their ability to express themselves. So I've been really, really pleased with that. Thanks to everyone in the chat, by the way. We've got 89 people in here right now. 446 people have viewed the stream. Make sure to like it. Make sure to subscribe as well. That massively, massively helps me out as well. Before we talk about Mikey Moore then, because we're going to save the best till last, we're going to talk about this movement as well that we saw. Obviously, we talked about Kulu. We don't need to do that again. This was a move that I absolutely loved because I think it showed the best out of a lot of these younger players, including Jed Spence as well. I'll come to some of your questions in a minute, guys. So here, on the right-hand side, we saw Jed Spence. Let me just move myself. That's probably for the best. Let me move myself up here for now. Jed Spence. I move myself across into Oliver Skipp there. Skip, what I love about Spence here is obviously, look, he gets into that position and he drives off the ball. Look at him there. You see him make that dart in between the midfielder and the left back there. And Skip, again, splits the midfield with a lovely, lovely pass. And Spence gets into that position. He attacks it. He lays it off to Donley. And again, something I was really impressed with Donley, obviously we did a section on Jamie Donley, was his weight of pass. And he just puts a lovely ball in there. He puts a lovely ball in there. Sorry, let me just move my big head again. For Alfie Devine, one-touch football from Spurs. Again, I highlighted it in the QPR stream. One-touch football, pass, move, pass, move, pass, move. We saw it with Ange Postecoglou. There was a mini documentary that Spurs put out on Spurs Play and on YouTube of coming back for the new season. There was that amazing clip that went round of Ange in the dressing room saying, we wear the Tottenham shirts, we play the Tottenham way. That was incredible to hear that. Because one, could you imagine Conte and Mourinho saying anything remotely close to that, right? But also, he talked about in training, there was a clip of him in training saying, we play our football, we play our way, pass, move, pass, move, pass, move. He was very, very intent on that. And again, that's what we saw yesterday with some lovely one-touch passing. It's been a feature of pre-season. It's been a feature of a lot of these good moves that we've shown you here. And Donley plays that nice little first-time cushion pass into Devine. And I was gutted for Will Lancashire here because it's, again, great movement. Devine, perfect weight of pass to get it across the face of goal. Such a dangerous ball into such a dangerous position. Slide rule pass, and Will just can't quite get there. Again, we want to talk about Lucas Bergvall quickly in terms of his ability to play on the half turn. Gray just splits the line there, and Bergvall's so comfortable. And then he goes out to the right wing here. This move was, I believe... this was it. Again, so before we come on quickly to talk about Mikey Moore more in more detail, I wanted to talk about this move. I wanted to talk about how we're able to move out from right to left here. Mikey, what he does, when the ball goes to him from Bergvall, he tries a little first-time pass into Spence there, but it doesn't quite come off, and he gives it away. He battles to win it back there, but they retain possession. It goes back here, but look at Bergvall quickly able to nip in. And actually, I remember, the reason why I wanted to talk about this is the prelude. This is the prelude to this move. This is how it comes about. Spurs playing out from the back with Gray into Bergvall, receives it on the half turn there, goes out wide to Mikey Moore, wants a little first time ball, doesn't quite work out, loses it, Spurs win it back, and again Will Lancashire in a great position there to just play up and set up that move that we just spoke about. So I was really impressed with that from Spurs yesterday. And again, like I said, if the youngsters are going to give it away, what they've shown so far is they're all going to try and win it back. And I was really impressed with that. Let's talk about Mikey Moore then. Actually, quickly before we do that again, let's go to the chat quickly because I think there's been a good few questions in here. Is a Doggy a doubt for the start of the season? I don't think so. No, he's gone on the tour. I think he'd be fine. Is Abbott ahead of Hall in the pecking order? I'm not sure, to be honest, mate. I think Tyrese is probably just ahead, but I think Abbott's versatility to play in defensive midfield will kind of help him out there as well. Archie Parker, thoughts on Spence arriving to career 3 hours earlier than everybody else? Was it earlier? That's very interesting. That's very, very interesting. I did see the tweet about that. I don't know, to be honest. And then Archie Parker maybe has to... I don't know. I'm not sure about that. Robert there, give us your thoughts on Spence. Big picture, is he going to stick? I think Spence will probably end up sticking around. I think he's had some really impressive cameos in pre-season. I definitely think there's been a shift. I think there's been an attitude change. I think there's been a lot of different noises coming out from the club that we didn't hear when he was there. For sure. So I think there's a way back for him now. And I think with that Emerson deal getting closer, especially with him being homegrown, I think it's a bit of a no-brainer. I just really, really want him to kick on and just not let this be a bit of a flash in the pan. Ben says, really enjoyed the Donley cameo. So did I. Robert, love all the academy players standing out, but Spence has been my favourite player this preseason, really pulling for him. I think what I love about the Spence thing is I think a lot of players are rooting for him. A lot of people are rooting for him, for sure. Spencer's looked our strongest defender, but can he replace Porro? I'm not too sure. I think that's kind of where I'm at as well. If Spence can take minutes away from Porro and be effective in those minutes, that's huge for the squad. Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Let's finish the stream then on Mikey Moore. Again, thanks very much for watching the stream. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Make sure to drop a like on the video as well. Mikey Moore. So good. So good. Obviously got his goal. It was amazing to see. Here, he receives the ball into feet here and he just opens up his body to play a little first-time pass down the line. And what you don't see out of the picture is, I think that's Spence maybe on the right wing. He gives it and then he just bursts into this space. Love that from Mikey. Again here, this was such a lovely bit of football. Mikey, from the touchline, drifts inside into this kind of space here. He pops it off. He pops it off inside, and then you can see him there, ready to make that dart in behind. This was fantastic from Mikey again here on the right wing. Again, what I've been so impressed with about Mikey Moore is that he hasn't really played on the right too much from what I'm aware of in the under-18s for England and for Tottenham, and in the under-17 setup for England as well. But he just stands the man up here. He just waits, he waits. And then let me just move myself here, because what I wanted to highlight about this, again, a lot of chat about Jed Spence in the chat. Mikey waits, he delays, and then just there you can see Spence making that dart, and Mikey waits, and he plays a lovely, lovely disguised ball to Jed, who makes the burst, and then it ends up with a cross, really difficult cross to defend. I think the keeper flaps it away, and Spurs nearly score from that. And again, yeah, Spence gets into that really, really dangerous position. This was the bit of skill that everybody was raving about. I think Spurs Twitter went into a bit of a frenzy yesterday. I went into a bit of a frenzy myself, saying, give him the number 11 shirt now. Back to the defender here. And he just, little Lacroqueta, and just skins him. Absolutely skins him. And he bursts away. And again, he's so unlucky not to get his goal here. The only thing that could have stopped Mikey Moore getting the goal in the first place was the handball on the line that denied him. So unlucky. And then let's finally end it with talking about Mikey Moore's goal. That's not the right thing. Apologies. That was Sonny's goal. And again here, Spurs work it out. It felt like a winner was coming. It felt like it was inevitable. And I felt like Mikey was going to score. He gets himself into so many goal-scoring opportunities. As we saw yesterday, he had the header over the bar. He had that one that was cleared off the line. And here, again, Spurs are able to work it out. Again, Donley is in a good position to receive the ball there, but he makes that overlapping run. And again, from Donley, it's the perfect weight of pass. And Mikey's there to just get in that position to finish it off. Again, it's a simple goal. It's a simple tap-in, but it's the movement that gets him into that position. And again, I've spoken about it a lot. With this blend of experience and youth that Spurs have got now, with the quality that we have got in that first team, and the way that we play on the front foot and the attacking football that we do play, I think there is such a much better environment for these youngsters to come in and thrive and get opportunities and get goals and make an impact on games. And I think that's what we've seen in pre-season so far. Again, you have to caveat it with the fact that it's just pre-season, but I've been so impressed with the youngsters for that. I've been so impressed, and I think it bodes so well for the future. Because say, for example, you're Mikey Moore coming off the bench against a team in the Europa League next season or in the Premier League, and you've still got Sonia on the pitch, you've still got Maddison on the pitch, you've still got Kulusevski on the pitch potentially as well. Attacking players with experience that know the demands of playing with Postecoglou. Mikey Moore knows that as well, because he's been training in the setup for such a long time now, obviously going back to April, been in matchday squads for big games. He has an idea of what he wants to do, but he's also got allies and leaders on the pitch that will help him thrive. I do genuinely believe that. And I think that goes for all the youngsters, and I think that's why they've performed so well in pre-season so far. So, been super impressed. Mikey Moore, is he ready for the Premier League? That is what's on the thumbnail. You let me know in the chat. But guys, it's been a pleasure doing this for you again. Let's go to some questions quickly before we end. Going back to Porro quickly, Robert said there, we ran Porro into the ground last season. He's a wee Iron Man. He is. I absolutely love him. Archie Parker, you ever consider making a Discord server for Spurs fans? That would be a good idea. I've got so many plans, mate, that I want to do. I've got so many video ideas that I want to get you guys involved in. What I'd love to do, I've got a plan for a video maybe next week or the week after. I want to do a live stream just like this, where we essentially build the Tottenham squad for next season together, right? I will build mine separately. We obviously, it's kind of taken a little bit of inspiration from what the Extra Inch did in terms of that speed run squad build for next season. But I want to get up some potential transfers. I want you guys to vote on them in the comments, and we're going to build our squad for next season. So I definitely want to do these videos, these lives. I want to involve you guys as much as possible, 100%. Are you on Twitter? Would love to see more of your analysis over here when you're not streaming. I am on Twitter. Let me just quickly show you my Twitter so you can go and follow me. And if you want to see more as well, all my links are in the description. My TikTok, where I do a lot of stuff as well. You can find me on there. This is my Twitter page. Just my name. And go and check out this Min Hyuk Yang video as well. And I'll show you my TikTok quickly as well, for anyone that is wondering. That's me there. Ben Talks Football. Video on Kulusevski on there earlier on. Some videos yesterday as well. So yeah, go and drop me a follow over there. 100%. Appreciate that. Levy went back Ange properly, and Ange will be gone by Christmas. I just disagree with that. Completely. And if we get Eze in, where do you think he fits? I actually made a video on the channel about Eze a few months ago, or a month or so ago. So go and have a watch of that. Go and have a watch. Go and drop that a like. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'm going to end the stream there. I'm going to go and upload this so the other people can watch it. Massively appreciate all your support. I hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know what you liked about the video. Let me know what you didn't like in the comments as well. Any feedback is massively appreciated for me. We're going to make these videos bigger and better. So